So the next step to upgrading your management accounts is taking a look at KPIs. So if you saw the prior video to this series, I did say we're going to move on to structure next, but actually we're sticking with preparation. So essentially you have got everything prepared for your financial statements. And if you haven't seen this already, I'll put a link below, or you can click through to my channel and you'll see that I've got management accounts series. And again, why upgrade your management accounts? Well, again, I'll put that video down below. It's really important for you and your career. So essentially, looking at your KPIs. So KPIs, key performance indicators, the main or the key things to be looking at. So what you'll find is with your business and with most businesses, you'd have one, maybe two KPI that the entire company knows about and everybody looks at. So for example, if you're a retailer or e-commerce, you'd be thinking about GMV. So how much have you sold essentially? And that's probably your main KPI. So obviously you would always have that one and you would never change it. Then you would have a few KPIs that investors are very interested in, or fast growth businesses are very interested in tracking. And that would be things like your CAC or CPA. So basically, how much does it cost, acquisition cost? How much does it cost to get a customer or a subscription? So if you're just spending money on PPC and on Google clicks, and it costs the business on average, say £20 of PPC to get one sale, then that would be your CAC, for example. And then LTV is another popular one, that's lifetime value. I will go in detail about these metrics another time. I do have them in the management accounting course. So they would be very popular ones, and total revenue. They're very popular key KPIs. Appreciate I'm saying key here. But then you'll have other KPIs that really are, you can change them in and out. So metrics, your company probably has hundreds and hundreds of metrics, but you probably only want to include a handful of KPIs into your management accounts. So it's working out which ones to include. So a good starting point is having a look at your quarterly goals for the business. So a lot of businesses implement something called an OKR, or they just have quarterly goals, or maybe they just have annual goals. So it's thinking about what the business is focusing on. So you want to look at those and take those into consideration, because it's something that the business wants to focus on, and therefore the board and the leadership team are also focusing on. Then they're the KPIs that you want to include in your management accounts, because they're the ones that people are interested in. So make sure that you do that little bit of research before you, in order to upgrade your management accounts. It's worth saying that those kind of additional ones, aside from say those top one or top four, they are changeable. So just because a particular measure was a KPI last year, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a KPI this year. So don't be afraid to question about whether it is worthwhile reporting on those KPIs or not. You might find that it's not, and it's just a KPI that has been included in the management accounts for the last 2 years and no one really reads it. There are lots and lots of KPIs, or rather, there are lots of metrics that hardly move month on month. But you may find over, say, a 12 or 24-month period, there's like upward or downward trajectory. And so looking at those particular metrics on a monthly basis isn't particularly interesting, because it doesn't tell the business much. But if you look at, say, a 24-month trend line, and it's going in a certain direction and the business isn't aware of it, then that is something worthwhile highlighting in your management accounts. So I would highly recommend that on a quarterly basis, you take a look at which KPIs you've been including in the management accounts and question whether they're the right ones to keep in the management accounts going forward. And once a quarter, if you just review that and just sense check with the business of what they're looking at, then that would make more sense, because then you're all kind of looking at the same thing. People are more interested in reading the management accounts because it is looking at the business goals, and you potentially may also highlight a trend because you are one of the only departments that looks at all metrics, whereas there are plenty of departments that only look at their metrics and KPIs and that's it, whereas you have that higher level view. So you may be able to bring something to people's attention that they may not have looked at before. So KPIs, definitely worth reviewing, definitely worth changing some of them to keep that interest up. Now, the next video, we're going to go into structure, and this is a good way of upgrading your management accounts.